My nemesis has lost his memory. He forgot about Bai Yueguang and woke up thinking I was his wife. I was speechless. You said I was your wife, so what proof is there? The nemesis quickly replied, I have a picture of you on my desk, a love letter for you in a drawer, and your clothes in the cupboard. You say we don't have anything to do with each other. I recoiled in horror. How do I know? You fucking pervert. I couldn't see my future as I looked at my comatose nemesis from my hospital bed. Murray Pearson, the only son of the Pearson family, is the next heir to the Pearson family. 3 years after I returned to China, at the 80th birthday party of the Pearson family, I was thrown unconscious by a high heel, and still did not wake up for 3 days. Your face is very bad. Do you want to take a break? The nurse on the side looked at me with concern. The doctor said that your boyfriend still has a good chance of waking up, and I hope you will be strong, and put yourself first. I came back to my senses and smiled awkwardly, but politely. I'm not his girlfriend, I'm the perpetrator. For peace of mind, during this time, I invited experts and doctors from various countries to discuss the condition and treatment plan, and many people have this misunderstanding. But it's not. If the perpetrator wasn't me, I'd only recommend a few doctors at most, to show the original yin and yang weird feelings. Under the shocked gaze of the nurse, there was a sound outside the door, and a woman in a pure white dress appeared at the door, and before she could say anything, tears were already flowing. I am familiar with the woman in front of me, Mona Addison. As the name suggests, Murray Pearson's true white moonshine. Murray Pearson and I haven't seen each other in 3 years. 3 years ago, the list that my team and I had worked hard for months was robbed again. Murray Pearson showed up in my office, not salty or light, but swishing to sound like a swish. I'm sorry, I didn't expect it, but the project flew into my hands as soon as I woke up. But I'm very busy, or I'll do it for my cousin. I was so angry that I kicked him in the ass, and went out of the country with my bag. When Murray Pearson called me to explain the reason, and told me that it was a trap my stepbrother had set for me, I didn't care. I said in a flat tone, I know, it's just that I want to open it, and I decided to pursue a new career. Murray Pearson wondered, you're going? I paused. It's too annoying to urge marriage, and I'm going to find a male model to get pregnant. Murray Pearson was silent for a long time, and suddenly laughed. Then it's better to be with me. It just so happens that I am looking for a partner candidate, and we can win-win situation. I rolled my eyes. No, your ass is too small to give birth. I like young men. Trying to get pregnant is an excuse, but in fact, I am expanding new business abroad. The family was overpopulated, and my mother died young, and my father favored my stepmother's younger siblings. It doesn't count as a stumbling block, and I can't get in touch with the core business, and I will be picked with peaches if I finally have some achievements. Without the obstruction and suppression of my relatives outside, I conquered the overseas market that the company could not win for a long time. In one fell swoop, his position among shareholders surpassed that of my father. The 3-year period has arrived, and I wanted to return to China. Punching stepbrother and kicking Murray Pearson. I didn't expect it to be all done. I was in the hallway on official business. In addition to wanting to slap his face, when he returned to China this time, the main reason is that there is still a lot of room in the domestic market, but it is monopolized by several companies. I want to see if I can get a piece of the pie. It's not that easy. As I was working on the papers, there was a hurried argument inside the door. Patients can't drink this. This young lady, please calm down. Before I could react, the door was open. The nurse looked at her in embarrassment. Florence Hodge, the patient can't drink such a tonic decoction, and this soup has pieces of meat, and the patient will be at risk of suffocation. I looked up at Mona Addison. Mona Addison held the soup in his hand. I'm sorry, I don't know about this. I'm just too worried about him. It's fine. I felt that my speech was too stiff, and I thought for a moment, there is a good chance that Murray Pearson will wake up. I hope you will be strong, and put yourself first. I smiled at the nurse's silently raised fingers. Unexpectedly, the next second, Mona Addison came with a crying question. I can't be so selfish like Florence Hodge, and I deserve to hit someone. Before I could speak, the nurse was already speaking for me. Miss Mona Addison, calm down. Florence Hodge, she has been taking care of the patient for the past few days. She is in the hospital 24 hours a day. She will take care of it. Mona Addison glared at me. It's to satisfy my own selfish desires. and there is no news about Murray Pearson's coma. You're trying to imprison him. During the time I looked at Mona Addison, I pinched myself with my hand to restrain the idea of contacting a psychiatrist. Is there a possibility that if this news gets out, the Pearson family's shares will be in turmoil? And this hospital was arranged by Pearson's parents. It is now a society governed by the rule of law. Sure enough, Mona Addison's tears immediately fell. Look at me like a wicked man with an unforgivable sin. I rubbed my eyebrows, feeling embarrassed for the first time. If I could, I would have liked the heels to fly in my face instead of Murray Pearson's head. Just as the stalemate was at a standoff, a weak voice suddenly came from the hospital bed. Murray Pearson's voice. He's awake. Mona Addison immediately turned around and ran in the direction of Murray Pearson. Murray Pearson, you're awake. I haven't slept well these days. I'm so worried about you. I immediately called the doctor, wondering if I wanted to leave room for the young couple to be alone, when Murray Pearson's weak, resistant voice came. Hello, stranger. Please don't try to put your hand on my chest, or I'm going to call the police. I sensed something was wrong, and quickly stepped forward and saw the two of them at a stalemate. Murray Pearson grabbed Mona Addison's arm, and pushed it out. I sensed something was wrong, and quickly stepped forward to try to reassure me. Murray Pearson, calm down, you're in the hospital now, you had an accident before. Murray Pearson heard the voice and turned to look at me. I won't look away. I was a little stunned, and tried to step forward to take a closer look, only to see Murray Pearson shake off Mona Addison's arm. Instead, he carefully grasped my fingertips. He turned his head, his ears flushed. Okay, I see. You won't have to test me like this next time, wife. I'm crazy. As I looked into Murray Pearson's affectionate eyes, I mechanically turned my head and asked the nurse, Trouble, is there a bed? I seem to have auditory hallucinations. The nurse looked at me blankly and hesitated, then I. Also hallucinating. Great. Then it's not like I'm crazy. It's Murray Pearson, who is crazy. I didn't sleep more than 5 hours for 3 days in a row, and I was still feeling good in physical condition, but at this moment my brain officially let out an overwhelmed cry. The moment I lost consciousness, I heard Murray Pearson's heart-rending voice. Wife. I fell into a coma that I wished I was dead. Murray Pearson, although I was wrong, you can't take revenge on me like this. When I woke up again, it was quiet, except for the occasional sound of the electrogram, ECG, that detected vital signs. My arm was so sore that I tried to roll over, but I felt the strength of my hand being clenched. As soon as I turned my head, my eyes widened in horror. Murray Pearson was on business with a tablet in one hand and holding me tightly with the other. After seeing me wake up, he decisively threw the tablet aside. With beautiful eyes and worries, he asked in a low voice, Wife, you finally woke up, is there anything uncomfortable? In addition to his business ability, Murray Pearson's best thing is this skin, which is in stark contrast to his character, that wants to bite him to death. But in the picture of this beautiful woman approaching, I didn't have the slightest idea. The moment I came back to my senses, I slapped him on the forehead with a fierce gaze. I don't care who you are, get off him quickly. Tonight is destined to be an inevitable night. After calling the doctor urgently, I learned that Murray Pearson had really lost his memory after graduating from college. There was even a cognitive bias that I was his wife. His parents came and saw me while I was in a coma, and sent me a text hint. Mrs. Pearson, I haven't heard of Murray Pearson being in a relationship, at most they are chasing after the wind, I won't admit it. Mrs. Pearson, if I had to choose, I would actually prefer you Florence Hodge. I sighed helplessly at Murray Pearson's slightly pale face, the gauze on his head, and the broken look in his eyes. Remember the girl you woke up with? She is your white moonlight, our college classmate, don't say you forgot. It was only then that Murray Pearson came to his senses. Oh, I don't remember, I don't believe it. I resisted the urge to beat him. Didn't you be nice to people before? Murray Pearson's eyes were a little wandering. No, I don't remember, I only remember my wife. I rolled my eyes. Yes, I remember that once someone matched us together. They retorted that they liked me as a dog, but you still admired her. Murray Pearson was a little anxious, and his voice was a little weak. At that time, the people who competed with you wanted to spread rumors, but I haven't caught you yet, and the impact on you is not very good. In this regard, I said coldly, do you think I will believe it? Murray Pearson was so categorical at the time. I tried to break free of Murray Pearson's clenched hand, but to no avail. I could only mock it verbally. If you like Florence Hodge, Murray Pearson, am a dog tilde. Murray Pearson froze for a moment, the tips of his ears turning red. As I tried to withdraw my hand again, he grabbed it. Sultry gas sprayed on my hands. Murray Pearson looked at me intently, his face flushed. Wang. Mona Addison and Murray Pearson's relationship is much more simple than it was in college. After graduating, I resisted marriage, and only the Pearson family was willing to let me join the company. Before, Murray Pearson and I had a bad relationship, but not to the point of bitter enemies. When we meet, we only talk a few words, or we pretend not to see each other. I still really appreciate Murray Pearson's personal ability and appearance. But within 2 days of hiring, Murray Pearson was constantly coming to his desk to be a prominent treasure. Either the PPT did not meet his wishes, or the planning was not perfect, or the customer complained to me, I can't do this task well, so it's better to go back and get married. I still remember Murray Pearson's words, and the look on his face at that time. Under great pressure, I made rapid progress, but I was rumored by others that I had a relationship with the top, and at that time, Mona Addison dangled in front of me with a bouquet of flowers, analyzing her sweet moments with Murray Pearson as I worked. I didn't care, and even persuaded her to concentrate on her work and become a regular as soon as possible. Mona Addison looked at me strangely. It wasn't until I was brushed off that I realized that her gaze was pity. It turns out that the selected personnel have already been decided, and no matter how good the works are, they will be brushed down. It was also at that time that Murray Pearson and I were at odds. When I finished talking to Murray Pearson about my grievances with him over the years, he looked a little sluggish. Growing up, it was rare to see Murray Pearson so stunned, but it was strange that he was a little pity. I patted him on the shoulder. I want to open a little brother. If it weren't for you being thrown by my high heels, we wouldn't want to talk so calmly. After a long silence, Murray Pearson suddenly slapped his head. He was so sad that he looked like a corgi who had come to his master and was kicked mercilessly. Murray Pearson looked at me sadly, and said in an obscure tone, "Is it possible that the previous head is actually bad? You smashed my head in the light." I didn't hesitate to laugh out loud. I didn't spend much time in the ward. After confirming that Murray Pearson had nothing but amnesia and cognitive errors, I chose to quickly distance myself. After a brief cleanup, when I met Murray Pearson's blank gaze, I couldn't help but suggest to the doctor next to me, "Why don't you test your intelligence again? I haven't seen him stay like this before." Murray Pearson, who was questioned about his IQ, snorted softly, "Did the 2 meetings I had last night fool people?" I was silent. Although he looks dull, Murray Pearson has been nurtured by the Pearson family since he was a child, and his abilities are indeed outstanding. Just as I was trying to find an excuse to fool me, Murray Pearson suddenly looked at me seriously for a moment, then looked away. He said softly, "I just think my wife looks very good in a suit." The heart is beating fast. The electrocardiogram suddenly indicates that the heart rate is too high. Under the doctor's shocked and suspicious gaze, I turn my head away with a cold face. Sometimes I really want to call the police. I spent a noon on business, and only this time I went to talk to my girlfriend about what happened during this time. My girlfriend initially angrily asked me why I had been disconnected from her for so long after releasing the pigeons. After I explained the cause and effect, her attitude changed completely. I even asked the waiter to buy a bag of melon seeds, and began to knock up the melon seeds with relish. When she finished eating the melon seeds and started ordering popcorn, I couldn't help but speak. "Ahem," I said, "this is a bit disrespectful to me." "Right." My girlfriend was serious for a second, and quickly got up to pour me tea. "It's not that I've been too boring lately, and you guys are just like the plot of the novel." I wondered. Broken Mirror reunion. Girlfriends denied. Of course, it's the male protagonist and the vicious female partner. Take advantage of the male owner's amnesia, and you take advantage of the weakness to enter. Leave the lonely little white flower helpless. In the moment of discouragement, the male protagonist suddenly regained his memory, chasing his wife in the crematorium. He is very fond of the heroine. Whoa, you guys are really alike. You're a vicious second woman, and Mona Addison is a bitter heroine. My best friend's eyes lit up as she spoke, and my face became more and more ugly. After talking a lot, my best friend finally noticed that something was wrong, and said cautiously, "Don't tell me that you are indeed a little excited. It's just that he's good looking, as you know, and I haven't denied that Murray Pearson is good looking, but not to the point of liking, at best. The contrast is a little shocking." I looked at my best friend, and smiled. The plot of the novel is not valid. I can't be a third party. My mother was forced to be angry by a third party. The topic unconsciously went to the point of being a little heavy. The girlfriend uncomfortably pumped her mouth, looking at the red marks on my girlfriend's cheeks. I couldn't help but stop it. "Okay, I know what kind of person you are. Otherwise, why don't you have friends? One of the few good girlfriends of mine is notoriously straightforward and brainless, but they will also come to me when everyone isolates me, and they will also protect me behind me, and contradict everyone alone." Finally, my best friend patted me on the shoulder with teary eyes. "Good sister, don't say anything. I'll be the boss after a while, and I promise to make you forget about him." For a moment, I had a bad feeling. In addition to being straightforward and brainless, her more resounding name is Play with Flowers. The kindness of her best friend cannot be refused, especially if she still thinks that things should not be. Fortunately, time is not so fast, and I still have time to buffer. I put all my energy into my work. The main purpose of this return to China is to open up the domestic market. Before returning to China, I had already contacted people and done enough research. After staying up a few all-nighters, I also managed to get a project that made people feel emotional. Let the people of the Hodge family shut up completely. There are more people in the company, and I have met many core employees, and it is said that my father has been in the hospital for a long time. I am very satisfied with this, although when I worked overseas, I had already surpassed him in the company. I've also heard people ridicule that the Hodge family is the end of the strong crossbow, and my existence is to let the old tree of the Hodge family meet spring. I didn't show it on my face. I worked overtime for 3 hours to celebrate that day, went home and opened 2 bottles of champagne, played air punches on the couch for 20 minutes, and laughed out loud in the middle of the night. Give that employee a raise next month. It's a pity that I'm not here to save the Hodge family. I'm here to trip the Hodge family. The company I secretly founded was slow to move forward in the market, and was still looking for opportunities. The result of being too obsessed with my career was when my girlfriend appeared in front of me, and I suddenly realized, it turns out that the game is good. Let me tell you, the male models I called this time are all of high quality. She gestured mysteriously to me. 8. The waist is thin and the legs are long, and the speech is good. I have already inspected it once. I was shocked. When I actually saw the male model, I was sure that my girlfriend was really looking for it. This little brother is really good looking, and these eyes are affectionate to the dog. Each has its own characteristics in the dim light, and the sound is moving. With a thin waist and long legs, at first glance, it cost a lot of money. My girlfriend approached me a little excitedly. "How is it? Do you feel the pounding of your heart?" Under the expectant eyes of my best friend, I looked around, and finally said stubbornly, "Why don't you turn the lights up first? I'm short-sighted and can't see." My best friend twisted my waist angrily. "You don't understand. What you want is a sense of atmosphere. You can say a few words. You can only understand if you communicate with each other. That being said, I really don't have the idea to know and how to say it appropriately." My girlfriend saw my embarrassment. "Workaholic. How do you usually talk to employees at work? But now you say that. Okay, now that everyone is here, let's introduce yourself." I cleared my throat and folded my hands on my knees. "What do you think of yourself? What is the reason for me to choose you? Where is the core competitiveness?" As soon as I finished speaking, the audience was silent, and the male models stood up one after another with nervous faces. The best friend's expression also became indifferent, and she raised her hand and applauded. "Okay, good. 4 sentences, showing the true character of a capitalist." Seeing that the atmosphere was gradually becoming awkward, I simply hooked my hand towards the man with the best body. "It's you." The male models are very eye-catching, and under my relief, they began to play round, and the atmosphere warmed up. The chosen male model looked at me, and said in a shy tone, "Florence Hodge, you are so good looking." I smiled. "Thanks. I know." The girlfriend interjected, come on, don't just talk. Drink some wine. I stole my father's treasured wine. 1 glass per person today. I took the initiative to open and pour the wine, making sure it was in my sight before drinking. Not much, but the moment I entered the entrance, I realized. Girlfriends are real. It is a highly concentrated liquor. Male models drink the most. After drinking, I am also a lot bolder. Why did you choose me? He quietly approached. I looked at him and analyzed. Maybe your body is a bit like him. Is there anything I want to do for you? The male model looked shy. You care about him, right? I'm kind of similar to him. Just right to imitate. I'm really starting to think about it now. The feeling at that time may have been caused by the panic and contrast. Yes, after figuring it out, I finally reached out and covered the lower half of his face. Squat. The dog barked. The person who was shocked this time was my best friend. She even bit her tongue in fright. While her best friend was in pain, she didn't forget to exclaim, wait, you are playing with such flowers behind my back. That's Murray Pearson, heir to the Pearson family. You play him like a dog. At this moment, everyone looked at me with admiration. I picked up the orange and stuffed it into her mouth. Don't spread rumors. You hurry up and grow your brain. Only a handful of people know about Murray Pearson's amnesia and cognitive errors. I don't dare to think about what kind of gossip would be going on if I didn't suppress it today. At this time, the phone called, and while I went out to take a breath, I connected to the call of my subordinate, Florence Hodge. The client wants to suspend the collaboration, and it seems that the Pearson family has stepped in. I paused. Murray Pearson. The subordinate pondered. No, it should be his cousin. Pearson has a large family and many subsidiaries, and now it's his cousin's family who wants to steal my business. I didn't understand. This business is broken, and the profit itself is not much, but the price they give is completely a loss-making transaction. The subordinates were also puzzled. Don't talk about us. The customer also thinks it is strange. After all, it is a long-term cooperation, and I am afraid that this little profit will be disturbed. Regardless of him, the cooperation at that time was also based on the credibility of the past. If there are other partners, we will not lose. I didn't care much about cooperation. More importantly, why the Pearson cousins stepped in, still without any oil and water. I chatted with my subordinates outside the balcony for a few minutes. When I returned, the room was brightly lit, the air was fresh, and the smell of wine and perfume was gone. Some are just the residual scent of the freshener. I was so scared that I thought I was in the wrong room, especially when Murray Pearson was sitting on the couch. I even thought I was going to hell. Murray Pearson has gauze on his head, his posture relaxed, and his expression gentle. The manager stood aside, looking flattering and nervous. At this moment, the 8 male models are standing in a row. Their faces are pale, their posture is nervous, and even one of them is still trembling with his calves. A corner of my best friend's single couch, head down and pretending to be dead. You're here. Murray Pearson took the initiative to greet me. Feel free to sit. These are the male models you ordered, right? I still have some questions for them. I sensed something was wrong, but Murray Pearson had turned to them to ask questions. Where do you think your core competencies are? Do you have any special skills? Why choose you? I would also like to applaud. Murray Pearson is clearly better at playing. Don't be nervous. Just ask your questions as a man. In this way, answer a question. 10,000 per person. Seeing that something was wrong, I immediately interrupted. Wait. In a resentful gaze, I rubbed my temples. Why are you here? Murray Pearson smiled at the corners of his lips, and spoke in a gentle tone. Unexpectedly, there are rumors that you are fighting 8 beautiful men at night in the bar. Dogs barked one after another. The news leaked, or the rumor mongering. The manager's face turned pale instantly. I will definitely investigate this matter thoroughly, and we will pay for tonight's consumption, and we should make amends. Yay. The girlfriend suddenly heard a small cheer, and then immediately covered her mouth. It's not me. I was flirting just now, and didn't have time to play on my phone. They testified. It's not a big deal. Never mind. I don't care about my reputation. After all, my father and stepmother have long been ruined. Murray Pearson gently continued. I've found the rumor monger, but I'm here to come so I'll continue to ask questions. I hurriedly took a raisin from the fruit bowl. I'm also thirsty after talking so much. Eat some oranges. I have a heart. Murray Pearson took it with a smile, and instead of rushing away, he turned his head to look at me. Is this for me alone, or is it for everyone else? I took the green and stuffed it into his mouth. Eat. You are my father. If you don't have enough to eat, I'll wrap up the fruit plate in this store and give it to you. Murray Pearson smiled at me, never letting go of my hand. You've been so nice to me. If Murray Pearson is really allowed to go down, the white can become black. Murray Pearson, let's talk. The manager was very eye-catching and immediately arranged other rooms. This is the owner's lounge. The owner doesn't come often, and the privacy is top-notch. The manager smiled very flatteringly, but there was regret in his eyes. Maybe there was no opportunity to give advice. The boss said that the smash things don't count as price. Things are going in unexpected directions. I sorted out my thoughts, and decided to send a female assistant to send my girlfriend back first. My best friend was reluctant to even go back, trying to get me to go back and reveal it. I didn't bother to pay attention. If you don't be honest, I'll tell your dad the news that you stole the wine. The girlfriend went back aggrieved. I sighed and resigned myself to solving another big problem. What needs to be done now is to immediately, and accurately explain the relationship and position of the two people, and then distance themselves. With my thoughts cleared, I unscrewed the doorknob and walked to the slightly dimly lit room. You think well in your head, but when you really see Murray Pearson, you turn around and walk out of the door. The room was filled with the faint smell of tea, and Murray Pearson fiddled with the tea set, white mist rising from the tea leaves. His action of pouring tea is smooth and natural, and his hands are very pleasing to the eye, but that's not the point. The focus is on Murray Pearson holding a tea set. My gaze rested on Murray Pearson's chest. That is where dark suits and shirts are located. This was supposed to have a shirt. Now it's straight to the deep V suit. I was about to lift my feet and go out the door when Murray Pearson's gentle voice rang out. If we are noisy outside the door and are seen by others, I am afraid it will be difficult to explain. I stiffened as I went out, and eventually I got in. This kid threatens me. Taking a deep breath, I smiled politely but politely. So, what the hell do you want to do? I even caught a glimpse of Murray Pearson's hands with half-black gloves on them. The gloves are short and only cover the back of the hand. Murray Pearson's hands are beautiful, with fair skin and slender fingers, and the action of fiddling with the tea set is even more pleasing to the eye. It's just that the contrast is a bit great. Murray Pearson listened to my inquiry, and looked innocent. I looked at their outfits, and thought you would like this. Don't you like it? His eyes were fixed on me, and before I could answer, he shook his head. No. Your look tells me that you like it very much. And I've researched your aesthetic preferences from high school to college, but fortunately they haven't changed much. After a thorough analysis, I didn't rush it, just pulled out my chair, and sat down in front of him. Murray Pearson, you've gone a little too far. Murray Pearson sighed and put down the teacup in his hand. I'll admit, I was crazy with jealousy when I heard the news. I didn't speak, just put my hands on my elbows, and looked at him quietly. I came first, and you're here tonight to distinguish how you feel, right? Murray Pearson looked at me, in an affirmative tone. I graciously admitted, yes, but whatever the outcome, I will not choose to be with you. Under Murray Pearson's hurt look, I said directly, I don't like to be a junior if you have doubts about whether you are in a relationship with Mona Addison. That's not right. Murray Pearson was determined. I couldn't have liked her. I didn't believe it and asked, why? Why are you so determined? I think you guys are true love. Murray Pearson was silent for a moment, then pulled out his phone and approached me. I looked at the photo album on Murray Pearson's phone, and watched him type in the password, and my expression gradually changed from calm to panic. Murray Pearson's voice was also dark with a broken jar. I have your award-winning photos and enrollment photos in my phone, a love letter written to you in the safe, a lantern you made I still have at the head of the bed, and a reading note you wrote that I take out to read when I have insomnia. How can I like someone else? His bland words were like thunder to me. I felt that something was out of grasp, a little sluggish, and instinctively retreated. How do I know your preferences? Isn't this a little too perverted? But I sat in my chair and pulled Murray Pearson's arm because I was looking at my phone and was even very close to Murray Pearson. He was as close as if he was afraid of me running away, but the distance was even closer. He even put my hand on his chest. I don't really like changes that are beyond my control, but Murray Pearson is very persistent at the moment. If I don't confess, you'll definitely throw me off. I didn't deny it. After all, normal people will not be contaminated with a married man. If it weren't for Murray Pearson's amnesia, I definitely didn't know there was a crush. You temper. Who knew you had a crush on me? The memories and behaviors of these years are a ticking time bomb. I'm not going to bet on uncertainty. Murray Pearson also knows, naturally. If anything, I will leave on my own. After the promise, I couldn't get along with Murray Pearson naturally, and I even felt a little awkward about Murray Pearson. But at least we know the reason, and the inside story of Murray Pearson's contrast. Murray Pearson was also apparently a lot more settled, at least not as insecure as he had been. You change your clothes first, and I'll go outside and calm down. No need to change in front of me. I calmed down in the hallway for a long time, mostly along the way. Mona Edison's behavior is indeed anomalous, and there is no substantial evidence between Murray Pearson and her, more just Mona Addison herself. But Murray Pearson had to prove it to convince me. Florence Hodge. Just as I was thinking, a voice suddenly came from behind me. I turned my head and saw that it was the male model I had just chosen. At this moment, he looked at me hesitantly, with a worried expression. Are you satisfied with my performance today? After finishing speaking, he felt that something was wrong, and lowered his posture again in a little panic. You were the first guest to order me, and I want to learn and do better. Don't laugh at me. I still have a younger sister who goes to school, so I'm doing this job first. After a series of them, I was amazed. Good guy. Is this the legendary non-existent dad? Maybe the sick mom? The sister who needs to go to school and the broken him? Pretty good. I have no intention of dwelling. He looked at me for a long time, and when he mustered up the courage to say something, there was a soft applause from behind him. The male model was a little angry, but when he looked back and saw that it was Murray Pearson, he turned a little stiffer. Let's go. It's a little cold outside. I have an overcoat in my car. Murray Pearson didn't care, and didn't give the male model half a look from beginning to end. No, I have it in the car. I politely declined. Murray Pearson is as good as he can be. I'm mistaken. I came here by taxi. I glanced at Murray Pearson silently. After all, he still didn't pierce him. The car started slowly, and Murray Pearson sighed again. It's good to be young. I think he seems to be about the same age as me, but I didn't expect to wake up and grow a few years older. I looked at the scenery outside the window, and said perfunctorily, when you regain your memory, your mentality will be balanced. But the words of grief came again. It's really envious. It's a matter of character. Some sincerity can be seen, and some love is unspeakable. You really don't say anything, but if you act, others don't dare to press my hand on your chest. I rolled my eyes and didn't hesitate to poke it. You'll have to find a different way to be remembered. Right. Murray Pearson had a smile on his face, but his eyes were very serious. In your heart, he may have a higher status than me. I sensed the meaning of the words, and turned to look at Murray Pearson. It's cold. Let the clubhouse go bankrupt. This was conveyed in his gaze. Murray Pearson, who grew up with a golden spoon in his mouth, will one day start comparing himself to a man? As the vehicle reached the basement, Murray Pearson pulled out his whole cards. Compared to others, I am your best collaborator, and my use value is the highest. You're very capable, and it's only a matter of time before you take control of the Hodge family. But it will take a lot of time. We can cooperate. You rely on me to open the domestic market. If it's confirmed that I'm related to someone else, I'll leave on my own, although the probability of this is not high. In the dim light, Murray Pearson's face was also surprisingly beautiful. I hooked my hand at Murray Pearson. Murray Pearson supplanted her face on my fingertips. It's beautiful, but it's also deadly. Even Murray Pearson, who has only a college memory, is not to be underestimated. A pair of eyes are calm and harmless, but if you really feel harmless, it is fatal. Everything seems to be in perfect place. Murray Pearson seemed to know that I couldn't say no, and that's what I lacked. I sighed. silently raised my hand, and pinched Marie Pearson's face. It's a pity that you're not a male model. SHHHH. Relatively speaking, I feel much better after reaching a consensus with Marie Pearson than I was before. Even a meager sense of control can be considered control. But this good mood was ruthlessly cut off by the next night. My stepbrother came to the door. I haven't seen it for a while, and the bruises on his face still haven't subsided, but his face is more swollen. I didn't think I would see him for this time, but I didn't expect him to appear now, and he looked triumphant. I sat up straight and realized that my stepbrother was menacing. The stepbrother smiled maliciously. Florence Hodge is so dedicated. It can't be because you're afraid of offending people, so you're dying, right? I laughed. Commuting to and from work on time is dedication. The stepbrother looked annoyed. I am seeking victory in stability. I continued, do you mean to send the price list to the partner? Stepbrother, I'm sifting customers. I sneered, oh, the one who went bankrupt and absconded with the money after screening. Stepbrother, I'm a man, the first heir in my father's heart. I applauded, it's great, you who deserve to be praised for your high urine. I didn't pay much attention to him, and looked at the time. I'll have a meeting later. Why don't you get out pragmatically, and find your dear daddy to drink milk? The office was surrounded by my subordinates, both men and women, staring at him at the moment. There was no benefit in the language, and he burst out an address with a grim face, and then wanted to leave. I spread my hands. Do I need to go? The stepbrother sneered, aren't you curious? Who is the person who has targeted you recently? Curious indeed, but I also knew it would be different tonight. Knowing that tonight was destined to be a Hongmen feast, I chose to eat a full meal first, and find out the problem in the network of contacts. After dinner in the Sky Garden upstairs, I ignored a dozen missed calls, and slowly descended the stairs. My stepbrother was waiting impatiently at the door, and the moment he saw me, he was angry. You, isn't this the famous Florence Hodge? Why did you come? I laughed, in such a hurry, you won't live to that time. My stepbrother didn't dare to touch me, but his mouth was not clean. It's not in your business. You have no one to teach. Your mother doesn't teach you very well. The moment I entered, the white object flew over my shoulder, and the sound of shattering exploded on the wall behind me, and the heat came from my shoulder. Bastard, how did I give birth to this daughter of yours? There was a burning sensation in my shoulder, and I quickly took off the clothes on my shoulder, and smiled without smiling. You are so awesome. Then why didn't you give birth to your father? Except for my stepbrother and my dad, I was kind of familiar with the people sitting on the throne. Marie Pearson's cousin. He was like a spectator, happily watching the scene in front of him. High up in the sky, I glanced at him, and just sat down at random. Say, I'll give you 10 minutes. Before, we may have had some conflicts in business. Lambert Pearson smiled. So I hope you can raise your hand this time. Otherwise you can't afford the consequences. The cooperation was robbed in vain, and naturally it will not be let go so easily. I specially squatted for a period of time, to find the right contacts to cooperate. Even if I didn't do it, introducing it to friends was to sell face. The main one is to spend money to make friends. On the other hand, Lambert Pearson's life has not been so easy during this time. The business was robbed, and the family was poached. And if it weren't for the Pearson family, I wouldn't be in front of me at this moment. The stepbrother also interjected at this time, gloating, don't offend people for petty profits. Women are short-sighted. Hurry up and marry someone while you are a little beautiful. I rolled my eyes and didn't even bother to reply to my stepbrother. Isn't this the first to flirt? At first, I wondered why someone who was not related to me suddenly did something to me. It turned out to be for Mona Addison. But unfortunately, with the pearl of Marie Pearson in front of you, you can only be an affectionate licking dog. You say, if I sing the praises of this friendship, will Mona Addison think you're a favor? I looked at Lambert Pearson's slightly changing face and smiled. If you want to protect the beauty, you don't see if you have the ability. Stupid. Lambert Pearson darkened his face and didn't say much to me. Just looked at my father. You don't want to work with the Pearsons anymore. The next moment, Mr. Hodge's hand was raised. It's also one of the most memorable images I've ever dreamed of. Midnight. He's always a nice guy out there, and when there's any anger, it's always vented on me, because I don't have a mother, I don't have a backer, but only before. I spilled the teacup in my hand with my backhand. Get away. My stepbrother immediately stepped forward and grabbed my arm, and in severe pain, I picked up the teapot and smashed it on the bridge of his nose. Get out of here. With a crisp sound, my anger reached its peak. I picked up my coat and wiped my hands, tossed the card aside, and I got up. I'll pay for this meal, and I'll give you a warning. Do you really think that the substandard product quality has been suppressed like this? His face turned from red to white in an instant. When he watched me get up and prepare to leave, he tried to stop me. I kicked the tabletop over, and with the sound of crackling porcelain, the dishes splashed on him, blocking his path. I took the opportunity to go out. Florence Hodge. The stepbrother behind him followed, but when he saw the comer, he instantly froze in place. The door was already full of people, the most obvious of which was Murray Pearson. Trouble working overtime tonight. He was handing out heavy red envelopes one by one. The manager, cleaner, and waiter each had one, and they smiled very brightly. No, it should be. The boss is polite. The cleaners and waiters were all full of fighting spirit, and under the nod of Murray Pearson, they picked up the cleaning tools and rushed in. Hey, talk about you. Hurry out and delay your work. Yes. Three big men bullying a little girl. What is a woman who is short-sighted? I really think we can't hear it. Right, Mr. Hodge. And Lambert Pearson slipped out of the blue, shocked to see Murray Pearson wiping my hand. Lambert Pearson tried to argue, brother, I was bullied. Murray Pearson was indifferent. Why didn't I kill you? Lambert Pearson gritted his teeth. No, she's taking advantage of you. Murray Pearson looked disdainful. That's my use. Lambert Pearson was furious. She's trying to eat and wipe clean, and cheat you out of your money. Murray Pearson raised his eyebrows slightly, and his tone was brisk, and this kind of good thing. In 3 sentences, the audience was silent, and the image of the love brain rose flat. Murray Pearson didn't care, and even turned his head to question me after he got to the overturned table. Does your hand hurt? My scalp was numb. No, I use my feet, so it's easier to exert myself. Murray Pearson is still concerned. That foot doesn't hurt, does it? My personal doctor is nearby. Let's go for a checkup. I know you're kind. Don't say nice things for my cousin. I silently looked at Murray Pearson for a long time, and finally put my hand on Murray Pearson's forehead. Okay, let's get a doctor to see your brain. It's really a love brain. Lambert Pearson finally realized the gravity of the matter, a sense of déjà vu that the dynasty was over, and that I was the vixen who had woe to the country. Look at me with awe and flattery. I looked at Lambert Pearson and thought it was funny, but suddenly my view was blocked. Murray Pearson stood in front of me. My cousin has never broken his girlfriend since he was a child, and he was in the hospital with a broken leg on 3 boats, and even then he had to go on crutches to go on a date. Looking at Murray Pearson's slightly wary gaze, I was shocked. I'm not hungry this far. But at the same time, I was a little impressed by the charm of Mona Addison. Then Mona Addison is also quite powerful, since it can make the prodigal son turn back. Murray Pearson suddenly laughed. His girlfriend is not Mona Addison. I was a little surprised. Murray Pearson didn't explain, just looked at me. There was a hint of suggestiveness in those beautiful eyes. Compared to me, he is more like a male vixen, who has brought disaster to the country and the people. I don't think you like heroes to save the beauty very much, so I decided to kill my relatives righteously. His fingertips brushed my wrist lightly, causing a shudder. The icing on the cake. There was the sound of hurried footsteps behind him, accompanied by the sound of angry calls for Greg Pearson. You come out and make it clear to me. Penny Kellogg, don't be like this. It's a shame to pull and pull. Mona Addison's voice rang out, with panic and grievance. A bright beauty dragged a weak little white flower to appear. When Mona Addison saw me, there was a hint of unnaturalness on her face. Penny Kellogg turned her head, and gave her a slap. Shame. Why aren't you ashamed when you hook up with my man? That's enough. I insisted on being with Mona Addison. She was forced by me. Greg Pearson stepped forward. Mona Addison looked flustered and glanced at Murray Pearson quickly. I didn't. I just took him as a friend. Maybe you misunderstood. Care means helping him wash clothes, cook sobering soup, and prepare all kinds of small holiday gifts. Penny Kellogg rolled his eyes. Why didn't you say you took care of him like a son? It's just that you are a painless mother. Enough, Penny Kellogg. Don't be jealous of Mona Addison. Women should be as gentle as she is. Lambert Pearson shielded Mona Addison and said, Charity, but I still have feelings for you. As long as you are a little gentle, I will consider continuing the marriage. I couldn't help but look at Murray Pearson. You guys are like this. Staring at Lambert Pearson for a long time, I couldn't find an adjective for a while, so I could only point to my head. Murray Pearson sighed. I can't be smart in the whole family, or I wouldn't be able to work so hard. Smack! A crisp sound rang out, and Penny Kellogg burst out laughing. They're going to get you married, and they're begging me to have a marriage contract with you. It's just because I like it, that I hide it from you. Now, her gaze became more and more fierce. Get out of here, dead scumbag. She threw her foot between the man's legs. With a scream, Lambert Pearson collapsed. I applauded silently. I didn't expect to watch a drama after eating, which is really good. Aren't you going to the doctor? I looked at Murray Pearson, who was not moving. It's good to teach a long lesson. The last bit of value is gone, and the family is estimated to give up, so maybe there will be soft-hearted people when they go back. I looked at Murray Pearson. So what are you going to do? I'm a soft-hearted person, although I bullied you, but I'm also my cousin. Murray Pearson sighed and said in a pitiful tone, there is a branch in Africa. Let him go and train for more than 10 years. I smiled mercilessly. The two of us whispered as Mona Addison stepped forward timidly. Murray Pearson, this is your cousin. Please call an ambulance for him. Mona Addison is indeed a very cute little white flower, tears sliding down her cheeks. Extremely pitiful. Murray Pearson looked puzzled. Don't you have a cell phone? Mona Addison woke up from a dream, and pulled out her phone for help. I wanted to go, but Mona Addison's quick eyes blocked our way. Murray Pearson, this is something that needs to be accompanied by a family member, and I'm afraid I won't be able to sign if I really need surgery. I don't know what to do if it's critical. Mona Addison blocks Murray Pearson's path, and Murray Pearson moves back aggressively, so concerned. Do you want to be my cousin? Mona Addison immediately shook her head. No, I care. Others. She looked at Murray Pearson's expression with hint and anticipation. Murray Pearson wondered. It's inconvenient for you to say. Mona Addison bit her lip. He's injured and I don't want to irritate him. Murray Pearson suddenly took my hand, and said in a proud tone, I'm different. The person I like already knows. Penny Kellogg in the distance mocked. Don't you want the Lord to know at this time? Usually secretive. Make it the same as the real thing. Penny Kellogg, how can you frame me like that? You come up with the proof. I know Mona Addison's methods. She doesn't really say Murray Pearson. She just hints at it. But this tearing scene is very good, and I'm a little interested. Murray Pearson, however, pulled me to leave. Let's go first. I won't be able to go for a while. Despite his words, Murray Pearson called in an assistant to help. The car is heated and it's not very cold. Murray Pearson couldn't wait to hand over the file in his hand. What's that? I couldn't help but say. Murray Pearson looked at me with sparkling eyes. I found out Mona Addison's undercover relationship, and what I've been doing in the past few years. Murray Pearson really doesn't have much to do with Mona Addison. Mona Addison doesn't just like Murray Pearson, either. She's a great actress. Before I joined the company, Murray Pearson frequently approached me, which attracted some attention. Rival companies and some people outside the Pearson family also stumbled Murray Pearson. Mona Addison's usual specious remarks also attracted their attention. The generous price makes Mona Addison excited, and it seems that there is really a possibility of being with Murray Pearson. No matter what, it's a no-lose attempt. Murray Pearson has always been clean, and there are no rumors, and the admission of a suspected ambiguous female secretary is already a topic of conversation for him. It was also during these years that Murray Pearson accumulated a lot of black material from his rival company, and he wanted to do it, but he almost delayed it because of amnesia. I asked my assistant, and I also checked the home and company monitoring in the past few years, and she and I really have nothing. I was happy. What if it's in a place that can't be seen by the surveillance? Murray Pearson didn't speak, just looked at me silently. With a bit of a silent accusation, I smiled and touched his head. Okay, what are you going to do next? Her mind is all about undercover and fishing for men. I don't know if it's her own ability or the company's hints. The contract has been ruined a lot, and she has lost $1 million less. Either they are sent to Africa to work together, or they lose money and resign. Happen to give bonuses to colleagues, and she has worked overtime in the aftermath over the years. Many people in the company jokingly call themselves NPCs in the boss article, working overtime every day to contribute to the love of the male and female protagonists. And it's time to clarify. Murray Pearson's words are breeze. I didn't care much about the ending of Mona Addison. I was more focused on the prospects. With the collapse of the other company, it means that there is a vacancy in the market, and there is a vacancy in the market, which is the best moment to develop new products. Let's go. Go back. I'll have a meeting. Instead, Murray Pearson grabbed me at this point, looking resentful. I know you're going to like this. You can take your time. I'll do what you tell me to do. But ignore me. He approached me with some grievances. I stayed up several nights watching the surveillance, and the smashed place was a faint pain. It looks so aggrieved that it can't be done. I couldn't help but touch his head. Very well behaved. Well behaved. What reward do you want? Murray Pearson looked at my lips, and then into my eyes, suggestively. I didn't go any further. It looks like just touch it. Let's go back. The next moment, the back of my head was gently clasped, and a slightly cool touch passed on my lips. My waist was wrapped. He had been waiting for a long time since he was hanged last time, and naturally it was impossible to avoid it easily. Murray Pearson has never been a submissive character. On the contrary, his calculations are under the skin of a seemingly handsome and gentle person. But that's what makes it interesting. I grabbed his face with my backhand, and deepened the kiss. However, when the mood was in full swing, there was an urgent knock on the window. Knock knock. Hello, check here. Mr. Police. Mr. Cha. This car looks very similar to my friend's kidnapping. It must be them. I quickly got up and tried to open the window, but Murray Pearson quickly stopped me, and tried to drape my coat over me. Clothes, shirts are messed up. He lowered his voice, slightly hurried. I realized I wasn't wearing a coat, and I quickly took Murray Pearson's coat, and jerked my arm out. Bang! The knocking outside was more urgent, but I didn't care, because I just punched Murray Pearson in the head, and Murray Pearson slammed into the window. He fainted again. Good news. Murray Pearson has regained his memory. It's just that during the time he loses his memory, the memory is intermittent. He looked at me with a strange look on his face, and his tone was solemn. When did we have such a good relationship? I glanced at him. It's okay. The main thing is that my boyfriend adores you very much. Let me care more about you. Murray Pearson's face was pale, and he still had a far-fetched smile on his face. Oh, when did you hear you had a boyfriend? You've lost your memory during this time, and you've been a matchmaker. I took a bite of an orange. At this moment, I saw murderous aura in his eyes. I slowly stuffed the orange to him. If you don't eat it, I'll give special help. The special assistant ran with his legs pulled, and did not forget to close the door. Murray Pearson took a bite of the orange and gently bit my fingertips. After a brief moment of anger, he smiled. Your boyfriend is so relieved of you. He is willing to let you take care of a man. I will never be willing. I didn't care. My fingertips withdrew, and I took the orange petal, and stuffed it into my mouth, and I smiled in his stunned eyes. You said it yourself. XI tilde HUAN tilde I tilde YOU tilde JUST tilde YES tilde DOG tilde. How about learning a dog bark? I'll think about you. Murray Pearson's brow furrowed. His face flushed terribly, and his gaze became more and more menacing. I still looked at him with a smile. I'm not small. After a few moments, he jerked across the covers. A muffled voice suddenly came out. Woof. This story has ended. Everyone is welcome to subscribe to the channel to get the latest content at any time, and a large number of novels are updated daily.